Today we're diving into one of the most subtle, but most damaging forms of emotional abuse, weaponized silence. You know, it's quiet, it leaves no marks you can see, but the psychological damage, it can be absolutely devastating.
I want you to imagine this for a second. The person you love the most in the world is looking straight through you, acting like you're not even there. You're up in the middle of the night typing out this long, pleading text, apologizing for something you don't even understand. See, in that moment, they are not just taking space, they are training you.
So, to really get how this invisible weapon works, let's follow a story. One that might feel, I don't know, a little too familiar for some of you. This is Maya, and right now, she's trapped in this emotional vacuum. She feels completely and totally invisible. But, you know, it wasn't always this way. When her relationship started, it was just a fairy tale. He showered her with affection, called her his soulmate inside of 2 months. It's a classic case of what psychologists call love bombing. But then came the shift. One tiny disagreement, and he just went cold for 3 days. And now, any little difference of opinion plunges her into that same freezing silence. So she finds herself just abandoning her own thoughts, apologizing for things she didn't even do just to make it stop.
And here's the absolute gut punch. Maya has started to believe it's all her fault. She's convinced herself that she's just being too sensitive, that she's the problem. But the truth is, she's actually under a sustained psychological attack.
And that just brings up this huge question, right? Why does being ignored hurt so much? Why does this emotional silence feel like a literal physical assault? Well, the answer isn't just in our feelings. It's actually hardwired into our biology.
So, let's pull back the curtain and look at the science of what is actually happening inside your brain when someone gives you the silent treatment.
Okay, so deep inside your brain, there's this area called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. Let's just call it the DACC. Think of it as your brain's neural alarm system. And get this, brain scans from experiments show that when you're socially rejected, your DACC lights up like a fire alarm.
And here's the absolute kicker. The DAC is the exact same part of the brain that fires up when you feel the distress of physical pain. I mean, from an evolutionary standpoint, it makes total sense. Back in the day, being kicked out of your tribe meant you were probably going to die, so your brain evolved to treat being ignored as a life or death threat. Your brain literally processes a broken heart like it's a broken bone.
Now, when this alarm gets triggered over and over, it sets off this devastating chain reaction. The DAC signals a threat, which flips on your body's central stress response. Suddenly, your system is flooded with the stress hormone cortisol. And when this happens constantly, that cortisol creates this toxic, inflammatory state in the brain. Over time, it can literally physically shrink your hippocampus, the part of your brain you need for memory and regulating your emotions. This isn't just in your head. It is causing actual physical damage.
Okay, so we've seen what happens in the brain. Now let's talk about the why. Because this isn't just a communication breakdown. Oh no. This is a deliberate strategy. And let's be crystal clear about this. Weaponized silence is not about someone being bad at communicating or just needing space. It is a cold, calculated tactic of control. It's designed to punish you and force you to comply.
This tactic is so brutally effective because it creates something called a trauma bond. The cycle of these intense lows, the silence, followed by the sudden highs when they finally give you a little affection back, well, neurologically, it's incredibly addictive. It's a pattern called intermittent reinforcement, and it creates this powerful dependency where you find yourself addicted to just chasing after those tiny crumbs of affection.
And the whole cycle is chillingly predictable. First, there's idealization. That's the love bombing Maya went through, designed to get you hooked. Then comes devaluation, where the silent treatment is used to just chip away at your self-worth. And finally, once they've drained you, comes the discard, where they just end things cold and indifferent, leaving you completely shattered.
And, you know, silence rarely travels alone. It usually brings friends. Tactics like gaslighting to make you question your own reality. Projection, where they'll accuse you of being the cold one. Triangulation, to make you feel jealous and insecure. And of course, a whole lot of blame shifting to make sure you always feel like you're the one at fault.
All right, understanding the science and the playbook is one thing, and it's incredibly important. But the most important part of this whole explainer is what you do now, how you start to reclaim your sanity and yourself.
First things first, and I really need you to hear this. The intense pain you feel when you are being ignored is not a sign of weakness. It is a legitimate biological distress signal from a brain that is under attack. Your pain is valid. It is real.
And let's get something else straight. Their silence has absolutely nothing to do with your worth. In fact, it's often people with the most empathy who get targeted, precisely because that capacity to feel is something the abuser lacks and wants to control. Their behavior isn't about you. It's a reflection of their own emptiness.
So what can you actually do? It starts with one powerful action. Just one. Stop sending that late-night pleading text. Stop begging for them to talk to you. Stop trying to figure out what you did wrong. Because every time you chase them, you're just proving that their manipulation is working. You're giving them the power. The single bravest, most powerful thing you can do is to refuse to play their game. It's to take back your own power, set an unbreakable boundary, and simply walk away from their silence.
Because in the end, it really does come down to a choice between the crushing weight of their silence and the beautiful, freeing feeling of your own sanity. So, which one will you choose to protect?